Hello everyone and welcome to another one of our highlights videos of the centenary edition of the race. And yesterday we saw Maxim van Gils take the victory in front of two UAE Team Emirates riders, and that also meant that Maxim van Gils took over the leader's jersey after the first day. Stage 2 was another rolling affair to say the least. It was 133.2 kilometers with a lot of elevation gain for the riders, and it was definitely not going to be an easy one once more. The teams gathered for the sign-on with Movistar as well, Enric Mas, but Nairo Quintana didn't even know he was in the race. But we also had Carual with Silva, who was wearing a jersey, and Tom Pidcock as well, the man who was left a bit disappointed and getting another gift from the organisers. The Q36.5 were definitely a team to look out for. Total Energies as well, and Andreas Leknesson, who was in the break yesterday, had the Manson's jersey. Tim Wellens was wearing the points leader's jersey, and Maxim van Gils, number one for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, was wearing the leader's jersey. And all the riders were just getting ready with pictures and everything happening at the start line. Once the race did get on, it was Red Bull's Maxim van Gils who did take charge in the neutralized start. But then when it finally got started for the real race, it was the Flanders Pro Continental team that initiated the moves together with Ineos Grenadiers as well, and it was a bit aggressive in terms of the breakaway early on, and at the sprint it looked like Uno X had the better of the rest. Nevertheless, that was actually what we had in terms of the race pictures, and then the next time we had the race pictures was from 43.6 kilometers to go, and here the race situation was very interesting, with Tom Pidcock trying to initiate a move to get up the road with Enric Mas, distancing Maxim van Gils in the process. And Van Gils was fighting for his lead on the descent here as Tom Pidcock was doing his best to put the leader under pressure. Towards the front as well, Pavel Sivakov had gotten himself in this move with Tom Pidcock and Brendan Rivera, even with Clement Bertin of AG2R. This group started to form a very cohesive unit and was starting to make inroads onto Maxim van Gils, who had 21 seconds of a deficit, 34 kilometers to go, with a very rolling profile to go as well. So it was really panic stations for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, as Maxim van Gils was a bit isolated at this point as well. But Pavel Sivakov was keen to work, as he was the rider sitting best in GC after finishing third yesterday. And behind we could see Maxim van Gils absolutely exposed and having Johannes Stouten-Mitten, the new Decathlon AG2R rider, on his wheel. Up in front, we had Enric Mas in this group as well. He was keen to work after losing time yesterday. Maxim van Gils really looking around, no support for him, and he was left really isolated. No Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe riders in his immediate sight, but the Belgian going from a high to a low today, really on the back foot, and the deficit was up to 1 minute and 33 seconds, and that was absolutely devastating as he was bleeding seconds waiting for troops to come from behind. He did eventually get some help in this second group, but was it all too little with less than 26 kilometers to go? And this was absolutely panic stations now for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. They're trying to do their best to minimize it, but it was increasing. 1 minute and 41 seconds and then 1 minute 49 seconds. There was really not much they could do against that front quartet with almost 20 kilometers to go. Red Bull were doing all they could with that one domestique, but the unit up in front were working really well together with the motivated Pavel Sivakov and Tom Pidcock, and Red Bull were seeing that yellow jersey disappear through their hands. But at the front, with less than 18 kilometers to go, they nearly built a 2-minute lead on Maxim van Gils, with Ineos Grenadiers' Brandon Rivera, who incidentally has represented Monaco in the past. He was sitting here and probably eyeing up the victory. 16 kilometers to go, and here we had almost that 2-minute mark, as we said. Sivakov still keen to work at the front. Pidcock up here as well. Many of these riders were disappointed on the first stage, and Enric Mas sitting on for basically an armchair ride here. Pidcock was very keen to work as well, but behind we could still see the rider 56, which is Aliotti, working for Maxim van Gils, and they had a UAE rider on his wheel. Tom Pidcock was making his way up back into the group after getting a feed or a beat on, and Pidcock was looking very good today compared to what was happening yesterday, but they lost a bit of their lead as it was 1 minute and 44 seconds. Enric Mas was even contributing at this point, not very much, but he still was working well. Looking around a bit here, Pavel Sivakov not keen with some of the riders not doing too much work. Pidcock still looking very good there in second wheel behind Pavel Sivakov. Maybe they'd come to an agreement, as Pidcock had lost a sizable chunk of time, and with less than 9 kilometers to go, they had a 1 minute and 52 second lead still over Maxim van Gils, who was still suffering in that second group. And it did come up to the 2 minute mark with 5.3 kilometers to go. Pidcock there working really well in the group, and they were really doing their turns as well. No one was really missing their turns all too often, but it was the motivation of Sivakov and Pidcock that really drove this move, you would say. GC aspirations and that stage was definitely on the line. With less than 3.7 kilometers to go, it was 1 minute and 54 seconds. Brendan Rivera was looking like he was starting to just look up. They were starting to look at each other here. The stage win was starting to be on the table, and now they were just starting to slip turns here. 1 minute and 54 seconds was definitely a sizable chunk for them to be afforded a bit of a play around here. Johannes Stouten-Mitten looked around, Pidcock looked around. They were coming in towards the last few corners of the stage as well. 2.4 kilometers still to go. The Ineos Grenadiers Colombian was still looking like he could potentially do an ambush attack on these guys. He wasn't contributing much to this move, playing the card of having his team leader in the background. Was that true? Who knows? But behind, we saw that Total Energies was starting to work with Maxim van Gils as well. Tim Wellens was sitting on the wheel of the Belgian, so the two riders who were out in front on stage one was now the chasers with less than 1.2 kilometers to go. Up towards the front, it was getting very steep here. We could really see the cadence working hard here for the riders. Pidcock was looking around. He likes this kind of steep terrain. 1 minute and 17 seconds was now their lead, so it had come down because of that horseplay that they had before. Maxim van Gils was starting to up the tempo here on their steep inclines. He could see that he could potentially minimize it a bit more, but out in front we had Pidcock here just slugging them up this steep gradient. And then we had our first attack from this group, and it was Pavel Sivakov, the Franco-Russian, really hitting out here. Pidcock was quick to mark him, and we could see Brendan Rivera really pounces on Pidcock very quickly, and the man who was starting to drift behind was Stouten-Mitten, the Norwegian from AG2R. Behind, we could see that it was really a slugfest led by Maxim van Gils. Everyone was literally on the Belgian's wheel, no one wanting to contribute to help him here. But in the front group, we could see that it was coming down to the last few 100 meters here, and the lead out was being done by Pavel Sivakov, the man who had most to gain in GC. Tom Pidcock, however, was on the best wheel as he was right behind him. Then Pavel Sivakov had nothing left in the tank, and Tom Pidcock opened the throttle, and it was only Rivera who really challenged him for the stage win. The Yorkshireman, the Prince of Yorkshire, took his third stage win of the 2025 season, really bouncing back from that bad day from stage one, and even did a bunny hop and a bit of a cyclocross trick to celebrate. And behind, it was the Norwegian national champion trying to fight towards the finishing places here, but Maxim van Gils was determined to try and come around here. There was no bonus seconds up for grabs here, and he was trying to stop the clock as quickly as possible. 1 minute and 9 seconds it seemed that he lost there, so they did bring it back about 50 seconds in the last few kilometers. So that was not bad recovery by Maxim van Gils, but definitely a day he will look to forget. But Tom Pidcock, absolutely incredible sprint power there towards the end, really showing what he's made of, and took revenge from the day before and really just adding another remarkable victory to his 2025 campaign. Even a bit of sportsmanship there again from Rivera. And Pavel Sivakov, the Frenchman, is now the new leader, the UAE Team Emirates rider. Didn't really have it in the sprint. Tom Pidcock there, you can see he didn't even challenge him. But did he just do enough for the bonus seconds? I think he just did enough for third place there. And it's almost like Tom Pidcock should have a different time than that of Pavel Sivakov, the gap that was being made there. Tom Pidcock got another thing from the race organizers. By this time, he's going to have a whole moving man with all the awards that he's been given by them. But there we have it, the top 10 of the day. Tom Pidcock winning with the same time as Brendan Rivera in second place, the Colombian, just ahead of Pavel Sivakov, and he's ahead of Clément Bertin and Enric Mas in fifth place. Not a bad recovery from him. You can see here Pavel Sivakov rocking some absolutely astonishing sunglasses and getting that yellow jersey, and he also picks up an award as well. But with that, that's basically it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the Cycling Dane Extra, and if you haven't already, why not go over on the Cycling Dane channel and check out the epic rise of Tom Pidcock, or even yesterday's stage as well, where we saw him in a bit of a bother. But for now, thank you for watching, and of course, join us tomorrow for stage 3.